All right. Hey, everybody. Okay, looks like we're live. Greetings, everybody. It's great to connect with you on this 4th of July. I hope you're all doing awesome, and I would love to know what kind of plans you folks have for the 4th, and I'll share with you what my plans are, but just go ahead and write in the panel. Let me know if you can hear me. Hi there, Cindy. Okay, good deal. Hi, Cindy. Good afternoon to you. Who else wants to say hi? What do you have planned for today? So I'll formally start at the top of the hour, but just want to make sure all the electrons are hooking up. Great. Lisa Celine has given me the heads up that everything is a-okay. Well, I'll tell you what my plans are, and then I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about. So we were invited by a neighbor up the street who had a hip replacement this last winter, and different neighbors brought food to her, for which my husband made his homemade soup and brought that up to her while she was in recovery. And so she's having a party today to thank the people who supported her in her recent surgery with the hip replacement. I do live in a village that is primarily retired people, though the demographics are changing quite a bit. It's in my neighborhood, I would say it's 80 to 90% of the people are retired. So I went to a different party in my neighborhood on Friday, and there were 2 of us who were still working, and everybody else was retired. And no comprendo, I cannot relate. Anyways, it's interesting. So that's what I'm doing. And then I'm doing our new member orientation tonight. Yes, on the 4th of July. And part of it is because it's very complex, our system, and it's not so easy just to cancel a webinar. We have a very, very sophisticated and advanced system. And so that's what I'll be doing at 8 o'clock. Is for all our new Shop Your Way to Wealth members, is their new member orientation. Well, that ties into my theme though. So I want to go over a little bit with you, and I just want to make sure. So I'm looking at my computer. Good. Okay. I have some very deep roots as it comes to this concept of freedom. I am part Irish, I am English, I am German, and I am Slovenian. My dad's side, it's the English and the Irish. Those are very prominent genes for me. That's a whole other topic. But truly, you know, as I see kind of the DNA that I have, one of them is this freedom theme. My it's either great-grandfather, great-great, sometime in the 1800s, in Ireland, he owned a business. I don't have all the details. It's in a book. It's in my house, buried somewhere. Basically, my aunt, who on my dad's side, went to Ireland after my grandpa died, and she researched the family lineage, and she discovered a book written by I'm going to say great-grandfather. And here's the general outline of it. As a business owner, somehow I don't know the nuances, but his business was like stolen, taken away from him by the government, and he was imprisoned. And we see lots of crazy things happen. Where government over a business or an entrepreneur, and then it can wreak havoc. That's apparently what happened to my uncle. So, sorry, not my uncle, my great-grandfather. And so he was imprisoned, falsely imprisoned, because they wanted his property. It was confiscated for whatever political reason. And so he wrote a book from jail, from prison. Okay, so my point about that is freedom isn't free. And I know we think of the, yay, 4th of July, let's go have a parade, and let's eat hot dogs and eat hamburgers. And I guess I'm a little bit more of I don't want to say somber person, but I'm reflective. And I have been passed on a very, very strong lineage that has a lot to do with the quest for freedom. My dad really, really, really taught me this growing up. It was in all the family conversations. So it was never taken lightly. I didn't grow up in a household and environment where it was all about self-indulgences and pleasure and, let me just live my life to the max, for tomorrow we die. That just wasn't the kind of household I grew up. It was a household filled with import and meaning, many, many conversations. And so in like kind, that's how I raised my boys. I have 3 sons. They're ages 28, 30, and 34. Well, Isaiah, my eldest, will be 34 in July. And I chose to homeschool at a certain point. There's an entire philosophy behind why I made that decision. But all to say, it was a belief. I am clear about my identity. I am clear about my vision. I am clear about my worldview. A lot of people maybe haven't parsed through that so much, and they're just kind of going through life. I have very, very clear concepts on this. I've grappled with it a lot. I've thought about it a lot. And so I knew with my boys, I have a philosophy, a belief system that I wanted to impart to them that I began to see wasn't happening so much through the schools, and that I wouldn't necessarily want to entrust their minds and their hearts into a system. And it's interesting because both my parents were teachers, and yet my dad had a PhD in physics and my mom was a literature major, and they cheered me on when I announced the decision I was going to homeschool. Anyways, here's the interesting thing about homeschooling. It's extremely prevalent these days, but it was actually illegal not so long ago. I believe in the 1970s, because I started homeschooling in the 90s. But its parents went to jail. Good, upright citizens went to jail for the fact they wanted to have control for how their children were taught. They had a belief system, etc. So someone paid the price for me to have the freedom to homeschool. We forget so quickly. Human nature being what it is, it's so fleeting. Our ability to remember, even dare I say our interest to want to remember or to even delve into the past and find out about the cloth that we're cut from. Why the 4th of July? And I would imagine a lot of people perhaps have never even read through the Declaration of Independence. That's what the 4th is about. Declaring our independence from what Americans felt was an oppressive government, primarily from taxation and lack of representation. How many of you know that? Did you know that all the grievances are listed in the Declaration of Independence? They are. And I question whether I should do this or not. Should I actually read aloud a portion of the Declaration of Independence? You see, in my family, I had my boys memorize large volumes of, for example, the Gettysburg Address. And we would do these memorization exercises, and then I would invite the grandparents over and go, here's what I've been teaching your grandchildren. And much of it, our schooling, had to do with history. If you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat the failures of history. And they're written throughout the millennial. And most of history is blanketed with the blood of people who fought for freedom. We have the most free country in the world. We have so much freedom. We get to diss on our country, the flag issue. And I think, my goodness, try going to another country and seeing just how bad it really is here. Not so bad when you have what's called a point of contrast to go, wow, thank God I live in the United States. I'm going to be a part of preserving freedom. So I've gone to China, for example. All right. I'm not going to go into all that. My son lives in China, but it would serve us well sometimes when we reflect upon these freedoms we've given, just how much went into even gaining this freedom for ourselves. So on that too, I took my boys on a road trip. My husband owned his windshield business at that time for 12 years. He never took a vacation except once. We went to South Dakota over like a 3-day weekend, but he never went on trips with us. I did 2 with him, 2-week road trips with the boys, because I said, "God, Brian, it looks like they'll never have a vacation or trip unless I take them," because he was concerned if he left his business, someone would come and steal his accounts from underneath him, this being in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And so he always kept his hand to the plow and he kept working. And he was one never, ever to gripe and complain about it. Ever, 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 ever. And he did love his business. But so all to say, I took my boys on a 2-week trip to Washington, D.C., because Isaiah, my eldest at that time, he was in Civil Air Patrol and was on a SAR, search and rescue mission in George Washington, what was it called? Forest, or a national park named after George Washington. Anyways, we went into Washington, D.C., and you know what? That's right. We went to the National Archives, and I wanted them to see the original documents. I wanted them to feel the weightiness of what we've been given and not treat it as a trifling, or what is it even? Are there 3 branches of government? Whoa, I didn't know that. Lots of people don't even know the very basics of how our government system works. So in any case, what I'd like to do is share with you, I don't know, guys, write in the panel if any of this is resonating with you, if I'm just like this psycho way off the wall. Why is she talking about freedom in this way? So I'm going to share and I hope I do this correctly. I have to be adept. There it is. So yes, Mama Sieg here. What we would do on the 4th of July is I would sit my boys down. I had to plan and orchestrate this. They were boys, kids. They want to go out and play and be with their friends. But no, Mama Sieg, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through the Declaration of Independence together. So call me a weirdo, but that's how I raised my boys. And I think it would, I can't seem to enlarge this. All right, I'm going to go through this only a part because I feel I will not have done my job. I would be remiss if I didn't take all of us on a journey to go back. What are the roots? Because here's where the tie-in is. I'm going to ask you to write a declaration of intent, which is in like kind to what the founding fathers did when they wrote the Declaration of Independence. See, some of you say as entrepreneurs, I know from the new member orientation, man, I just want to get rid of my job. Oh man, I just hate my job. Oh, I can't stand the boss, this, that, and the other thing. Okay, know that as an entrepreneur, there will be a price to pay. You might forego, for example, a little bit of the 4th of July fun to instead keep hand down to the plow and work on your business a little bit, okay? It's called sacrifice. I know it's not a pleasant word. A lot of people, oh, Lordy me, please don't talk about sacrifice, Ann. I wanted this to all be fun. No, there'll be sacrifice, but it's worth it. And you count the cost. The founding fathers, they counted the cost. It was huge cost, like their heads, literally their heads, okay? So I'm just going to read through part of this, and then we're going to talk about your declaration of intent. It's the power of your purpose. What am I here for exactly? I'm tired of meandering through my life, through all sorts of different things. And what is this whole e-commerce space? And am I really going somewhere specific, or I'm just floating along? You get to hone that in if you want. Some of you I have no interest for these kind of exercises, Ann. I'm just kind of floating along. I'm chilling, man. That's okay. It's all good. But some of you are ready to up your game. Those are the people I want to reach out to and help as you're going through your journey. The more clear you are on where you want to go, the more everything is going to align up behind that. All your mental, moral, spiritual energy will line up behind that to bring it into fruition and make execution natural, because you've wired it deep down into your DNA. So here we go. July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. Gets silly. This stuff, it gets me choked up. I'm such a sap. Okay, so here we go. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. Did you catch that? To declare the causes. Now, down here is their whole list of grievances. I'm not going to read that. You can do it though when you do your declaration of intent and write down what are your grievances. Okay, that's up to you. I want to read this part though. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. You might have to read that one through a couple of times to get the full import of that. When a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations. Usurpations means to remove rights, all having a direct object, the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Okay, then they lay out their case, their list of grievances. And then here we go into the end. So I'm not going to read any further. So I'm just going to quit doing my screen share. Hopefully I can do that correctly. I did. Yay. Okay, so I hope you get the general gist of it. It has a lot of weight and import to it. And yes, they risked getting hung, like this, okay? So really take it seriously. As we eat our hot dogs and we go to parades and we put our flag up on the pole and we salute the stars and stripes. It was paid at a very, very heavy price and a tremendous risk. Have you ever done such things? And now are you willing to do that as an entrepreneur and write up your own declaration of intent? Do you know, as I go through my workday, I do so much self-talk. I'm dealing with a pretty severe injury right now. I go, and you know what? I talked to my husband last night. It is all a mental state. I will choose to be victorious over this injury, or I'm going to let the injury have control over me. I'm going to decide. I will have control over it. I will be victorious in some way, shape, or form. I'm working on it. Same with your business. Will you be victorious over it? Or will you give in to any little trifling along the way? Okay, freedom is not free, it's earned. All right, thank you, everyone. I hope that you got some value out of this. I think you get the feeling that I'm a little bit passionate about this topic. One of my favorite movies, if you really want to see where freedom, the story of that is William Wallace. Now I'm forgetting, it was with Mel Gibson, but it is quite a movie, quite a story, as that people fought for freedom. And so did our forefathers. Granted, I know not everyone watching here is from the US. People, they hear our streets are lined with gold, and that's why they want to come here. Let's live and act and fulfill on that. Pursue your path of entrepreneurialism. Share your thoughts below. All right. Have a very, very safe 4th of July. That's an important one. Till then, God bless. I'll see you next week.